Welcome to Redvee TV's preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2020 season, as we look ahead to St Helens clash against the Warrington Wolves this Saturday in the Challenge Cup at the AJ Bell Stadium at Salford. Good evening, Kevin. Big one.
Good evening, David. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, actually. I think this one kind of stands out a little bit more than some of the Super League fixtures we've had recently.
In the style of the boxing presenters, commentators, you know who I mean, Michael Buffer and the likes.
Yeah.
Since lockdown, somebody's O has got to go. Both unbeaten.
Yep. Well, as I say, it promises to be a good game, promises to be a big one. There were some words after we got beaten by them at the Halliwell Jones from, was it Matt Davis, saying that our pack didn't fancy it. So I'm sure that Christian Woolf will pin them words up on the dressing room wall and just say, "There's my team talk, lads. You better go out there and prove him wrong."
Yeah, I've seen those comments because obviously we retweeted them this week, didn't we? I think Mike Critchley from the Star said the club won't take much notice of them, probably. But I believe if they were going to be pinned up on the dressing room wall, there was a little bit of graffiti underneath saying, "Who's Matt Davis?"
Well, I'm sure now our pack has changed ever so slightly with James Graham in there. I'm sure James Graham will be only too eager to run the ball in at the Warrington forwards and probably give him a couple of verbals as well.
Genuinely, I did have to Google Matt Davis.
Fair enough.
That's as how influential he is on that Warrington side, maybe from the outside looking in. But yeah, I'm not sure he's keeping many of our pack awake at night.
Listen, we have got a kind of score to settle after that game. I know we lost Walmsley in the warm up and we were a little bit patched up, but I think we said at the time as well we were disappointed with Warrington, and I stand by that. Even though they nilled us, I was disappointed that they didn't kind of put the foot down and go through the gears and absolutely batter us because we were off that night. And I still stand by the fact that I was disappointed with Warrington that night. I think they could play a lot better if they took the handbrake off. And our defensive resolve was still pretty good. Not to get turned over, and we've kind of seen that since lockdown as well. That I think save last week when our discipline went out the window both with and without the ball, that we've been quite good at keeping teams out.
I can't be the only one suffering from a little bit of amnesia though. The only things I can really remember prior to lockdown in terms of Saints is the World Club Challenge game, the coldest night ever when we played Toronto and we had to film in the car afterwards.
Yeah. And
standing on the terrace at Cass just before lockdown got implemented and the season stopped. I have got absolutely no recollection of that Warrington game. Probably rightly so, since you're telling me we got nilled.
Yeah, it's I'm
going to have to watch a post-match react. Hey, Kev, after this, I'm going back onto the instant fan reaction from that game. It seemed a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it does, and that's it. And as I say, you'll watch it back, you'll see that we were both kind of saying Warrington were all right. It was 19-0, I think it finished. It was, just nothing much.
What did I say?
If that was it. I think you were as level-headed and unsafe biased as usual.
I feel like Chris Kamara when somebody's just been sent off.
Dave, as I say, at the time, if that had been Saints on the other side of a team who've just lost the most influential prop and had a bit of a reshuffle and were nilling them, I'd expect us to really go for it. Be professional about it, but really go for it. And I think Warrington, listen, they might turn around and say, well, you know what, that's what we need to do this time, and that's what they'll be hoping to do.
For me, the revenge is the Challenge Cup final. I think that's where we really owe them, especially with it being in this competition this weekend. Now, I might not have many recollections of the league game earlier in the year, but I think we all certainly remember that August day if we were there and not sunning ourselves in a hot foreign country.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, Dave, I've got amnesia about that because I was drinking champagne in the Caribbean, so I don't think it actually happened. So,
and this time you're locked down in Widnes.
Listen, some of us have got to fall to earth with a bump, haven't we?
You hit all the branches on the way down. But yeah, that journey home from that Challenge Cup final was absolutely horrific. I think I stopped at a couple of service stations along the way, and each time the fans got drunker and more angry. But we won the championship in the end at the end of the year. But it doesn't take away that was a horrible feeling. And I think the trophy gap that we need to fill is a Challenge Cup, and no better opportunity this season than probably 3 games to win it.
Yeah, I saw a tweet before as well from someone who said that the Challenge Cup feels like the competition this year that wouldn't have an asterisk next to it. So like the Super League, I know that the fixtures, they've had to be redrawn because of clubs coming out, but still you've kind of got the same structure of you've got to play a set amount of rounds rather than rounds being cut out or playoffs being changed or whatever. And I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree that at the minute this is the one that feels like this is something we should definitely aim for. Listen, I want Saints to have played in every single game this year and won the 2 at the end of the competitions because it means we're double winners. But yeah, this will be a good one to kind of get a monkey off our backs.
And there we have the squad, Kev. Pretty strong. Only really maybe Tommy Makinson that you don't really have back in that 21.
Yeah, that's it. Batchelor and Costello will drop out with Dodd and Percival coming back in. I know with Percival they're going to try and kind of see how he goes. Make sure he's 100% fit, but surely he got left out last week to make sure that he could play against Warrington this week because we don't want him breaking down again. He is one of our star players. The last thing you want is your first choice centre missing for any length of time again.
We've looked at that squad and we've got to find 4 to miss out. And we probably have a little bit of a struggle. You'd probably say Coote at fullback, Nagama, Percival in his centres, assuming the fit. Wingers, Regan and Jack Wellesby still get the nod for you?
Yeah, Christian Woolf's been in the local press today, again saying that he thought Jack Wellesby was great and like he was on about the couple of errors he made, and he said, "Listen, I'm not really looking at that." He said anybody could have made the errors, especially the second one. There's a little bit of indecision, and he puts his hand up and tries to get it. I think he does. I think you don't start switching it about. He's played for a couple of games this season. Leave him out there.
Yeah, Johnny Theo in the halves, Alex Walmsley, Roby, Graham start, James Bentley. That's amazing. That's one way to get rid of someone. James Bentley.
I think James Bentley, Zeb Tyre and Morgan Knowles would finish off that back row. The one thing that obviously we saw a couple of times with James Bentley, I like the little bit of, call it a bit of grub about him, that he's not scared of getting involved when it matters. But I just want to see him just rein his discipline in a little tiny bit. You don't want to take it completely out of his game, but I'm probably unfairly picking on him there because you've got a whole team who last week were completely indisciplined at times. So picking on him, he's a young lad, he'll learn, he'll get better for these big games as well.
And then we get to the bench then. For me, it's Matty Lees and Kyle Amor, obviously to spell your props. Louis, who was given the week off last week for a little bit of a rest, he comes back in. And then Aaron Smith on the bench for me to spell James Roby, which unfortunately means that there's no place this week for Lewis Dodd, Josh Sim, Dom Peyru and Jack Ashworth. They're pretty strong place to miss out.
Yeah, I'm I'm glad I'm not picking it, because Dom Peru does look like he had something from the bench. He adds a little bit of spark in the same way that Louis does. But with Christian Wolf saying that Louis will be involved this week, I don't know. Do you go with that hooker just to spell him? Because I don't want us to be, once again, moving players out of position, making Morgan Knowles go in at 9, or making Bentley go in at 9. I want to see, and I think it's better for Aaron Smith for him to get big minutes in big games, because otherwise, when we do come to that time where we've no James Roby, how do we know how good he is?
Yeah. Agree on that squad then?
Yeah, I don't think you'll be far off, unless somebody's got a little bit of a knock or something like that, or it is their turn to be rested. I mean, as we keep saying, we've got a couple of elder statesmen in that pack. So whether it's somebody's turn to be rested and somebody's been...
Do you rest anybody this week though, Kev, in such a big game?
It depends how, as I say, it's more like if they've got a knock, and it's one of them that they're going to try and manage, and they feel that they've got a more than adequate replacement. That's the only way that I can see that squad that you've just said being changed. Alternatively, if he doesn't want to go with an extra 9, he wants to go with bigger men on the bench, then Dom Peru or Jack Ashworth would get the nod.
And to the Warrington squad, who do that really, really annoying thing of going in alphabetical order.
Yeah. Well, that's it. They're missing Widder, aren't they, again? He's not in there, so it'd be interesting to see how they go. Matty Ashton's someone that I like watching. He's a good, quick player, picked up from the lower leagues. But listen, they've got a couple of good players back. I think it was 6 that they've brought back into this squad. You take them lightly at your own peril, don't you? We've got to get out there and lay a marker early on.
No Tom Lynham.
No. Yeah, banned for 8 games, wasn't it?
Yeah, what did he do?
I've not seen the incident, to be honest.
Apparently.
Other contrary behaviour, was it again?
Apparently, it was a squirrel grip. I haven't actually seen it properly, but 8 games, it must have been really bad.
Well, it's not only that. Listen, I might not have seen the incident, but I've seen the fume on social media from Warrington fans. Was there any remorse from him? Was there an early guilty plea? And has he got a good record behind him? Because that's what helped Tommy Makinson downgrade his charge and get him 5 games. So that he immediately apologised on the pitch, and he's obviously shown remorse for it. Decent disciplinary record behind him, which we know Tom Lynham hasn't, after he tried grubbing Regan Grace after he scored that brilliant try against them at the Totally Wicked. Yes, so listen, until I see it and until I hear anything of the contrary to that, you've got to take it that it's a completely different situation to the Tommy Makinson one.
On the plus side, at least he's now got 8 weeks to make up a nice little funny story to entertain people with.
What did he do? Like nearly cut his arm off or something, or he slipped or something?
Oh look, there's Matt Davis in that squad. I'll have to line him up for James. We'll have to find a picture of him to show James Graham before we go out there, so he knows who he is.
I think James Graham will just run at anybody. It doesn't matter if it's Matt Davis, Ben Murdoch-Masilla, whoever. I think James Graham's up for this. Listen, he wants to win pots with Saints, and this is a good opportunity to go on the road to do that. The interesting thing is the semi-final is 3 days after the Wigan game, isn't it?
Which brings us nicely on then, Kevin, to the announcement today that there currently will be up to 1,000 fans allowed in the stadium for that. But the 2 weeks is a long time, and we might be in full lockdown by then, maybe as early as tomorrow.
Yeah. Listen, it's good news. It sounds like a step in the right direction for getting fans in. And I've noticed it's put out on social media that because it's a Wigan home game, it'll be Wigan season ticket holders. You'll get them 1,000 thousand tickets. And I saw a couple of Saints fans saying that's not fair. Listen, I'd be absolutely spewing if Wiganers were getting in. If we split it 500 and 500 and it was at the Totally Wicked, I'd be spewing if 500 Wiganers got in and there were 500 Saints fans not in our own stadium to watch our team. So to me, that doesn't make sense. It's got to be, you've got to look after the home fans.
Yeah, and we've got to also understand that we're in the middle of a pandemic, despite some people wishing to deny it. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This is a trial that to see if we can allow 1,000 fans in safely, and hopefully things go well and the numbers get increased. What we don't want is people travelling unnecessarily to other areas and potentially spreading infection, and then we end up in a bigger mess than we currently are, which is why people need to obey the guidance that they're given. Wear the masks, take the proper preventions, wash your hands. And you know what? We'll get out of this a lot sooner if we didn't have all sorts of people trying to deny things.
Well, is the city can be wrong that I think that if this does keep going ahead, clubs, while it would be a balance, that some clubs might look at those who want a refund on the season ticket if the situation says so, give them games so they don't have to refund them as much.
I seen an interesting one online saying, well, I've donated my money for the season. I'm not paying again to get in if I get to chosen to go. I don't think people have understood it quite clearly. You will only be refunded on the games that you aren't allowed to attend for.
But that's a donation, not a refund.
Yeah, but it's donated if that's the case. If the season restarted tomorrow, you would get it would be a pro rata donation or a pro rata refunds you would receive. It's not going to be a full year. Yeah, if you get in for 5 games, if your season ticket worked out at, say, £18 a game, you would have 5 games at £18 that you've paid for, and the rest of that money would be donated or refunded.
I thought you were going to do some fast maths then, David.
I am. 90.
5 times 80. Well done.
All right at maths.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm adding up money.
Like a Scouse Rachel Riley.
Oh no, how much better looking?
Anyway, sorry.
And here are your letters.
But yeah, it would. That's it. It would be pro rata. You're not going to get a full season, the full season's money back. As I say, it's a little bit tongue in cheek. But do you think some clubs would turn around and say, well, if people want money refunded rather than donated, then we'll let them in, so we've not got to give them as much money back? I don't know. Some clubs might do that.
I did receive an email from Everton this week. Obviously, they're looking for when the season resumes. There's going to be social distance in place, and what they've said will happen is that the games will only be open for season ticket holders to apply for, and each season ticket holder will need to apply basically for a raffle for each game that they wish to attend. And say if there's 5,000 tickets, the 5,000 people will be drawn out to attend. And that's how it'll be done. Everybody else will receive the refund, and that'll be done on a game-by-game basis. So yeah, I think that's probably the way most teams will go about it. Because obviously, say we've got 7,000 season ticket holders, there might be 1,000 people who are shielding, or a couple of thousand people with kids who'll think, do you know what, this is an easy option to leave the kids at home and I can go on my own. Yeah. So you'll whittle down your season ticket holders that way. You won't get every single season ticket holder desperate to attend. There may be some going, do you know what, I won't enter the ballot for this game because I'm quite happy to receive my refund and watch the game on TV. So you'll narrow it down that way, I think, in the end.
Yeah, fair enough. That's it. As long as it's done correctly, because the last thing you want is if you've got a 16, 17-year-old or even younger child and they start drawing them out, and by the way, your 7-year-old son's been drawn out, but his dad hasn't. Because I could see that happening with some of the grounds we go to. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I'm assuming you'll have to do it as a household. So If two, if you wanted a 10, you go in the balance as a 2.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to another episode of Redvee TV, which will return on Saturday with an instant fan reaction. Catch you later.